welcome back to Rick's Scale Model Fix and a brand new video build for 2026. And this time we're going to be looking at Arma Hobby's Hurricane Mark 1 in 1/48 scale. Now this has just hit the market about Christmas 2025. I'm a little bit late to the Arma Hobby Hurricane party, but the other offerings haven't really tempted me as yet, whereas an early Battle of Britain Mark 1 certainly does. So this is going to be a straight out the box build. I might change the decals and we're going to take a look and see how we get on with this. Looking at other internet and YouTube sources, shouldn't be any surprises along the build, and we should be left at the end with a really nice representation of the Hurricane Mark 1. So without further ado, let's crack on, have a look at the instructions and see what step 1 brings. So we just get 3 sprues in the kit, and the wings are just on top, and these are full of minute raised rivets. I don't know how well the camera's even going to try and pick that out. I'm going to try and catch it in the light for you. You can certainly feel them. So that's going to be interesting, and they're on the undersurfaces as well, so it's every rivet is raised on this. I can feel that with engraved hatch detail and panel lines, but more of that later. So this is a hybrid, it says, mating it up to the other well received Hurricane kits, and everything looks quite nice there. It's very greasy, so I might just take these down to the kitchen and give these a wash, because the mould release is coming off on my fingers. So just taking a look at the first couple of initial stages in the instruction book, and it seems to be dealing with the build up and assembly of the main wheel well. Moving on to step 5 and 6 here at the bottom, and this looks as though we're going to be dealing with the pilot's seat. So we'll get the parts off the sprues for these, get these assembled and see what the fuss is about. So we've worked our way down the page. Everything looks reasonably well detailed and it's all gone together well. And we've also turned over the page and got to the bottom of the second page and stage 10 before we need to do any detail painting. So detail's quite nice. Funny arrangement with the ejector pins on the inside of the wing, but thankfully they don't interfere with the fit of any of the parts. And there's our wheel well, which builds up to the cockpit floor, lower wing piece, and it all goes together with a nice resounding click. So it's time to get some paint on these, and we're going to start off with some primer. So as ever, MRP fine surface primer. So while we're waiting for that matte aluminium to dry, we can join these wings together. So we're just going to get some Tamiya tape at the ready. So we're just going to start at the inboard ends. Just get these to bite. The fit's not perfect, it's going to need probably a bead of Mr. Surfacer in there just to make it totally acceptable. And we're just doing the old finger pressure check. Piece of tape around the leading edge to hold it in place. It was nice that the manufacturers included the lens arrangement for the landing lights, rather than just sometimes leaving a crude effort on display there. And we'll just work our way round, getting the best join that we can. We shall add the landing lights there on the clear sprue, and we can blend those in if need be, so it doesn't ruin the finished look. Trailing edges are really quite nice and thin. So I'll carry on and do the other side and get the rest of those cockpit parts built up before we start adding detail to this pilot's area. So we've been busy and we've got the majority of the cockpit done and assembled to this centre fuselage section. We've got the seats in place and the pilot's armour. And I've just been dry fitting and test fitting fuselage parts, so we've still got a little bit of work to do on the side walls there. And then we have this arrangement where the very flimsy fuselage has the insert for the tail, and then everything mates up like this in the next sort of stages. So I'll crack on and report back when we're done. So we've turned over the page in the instruction booklet and we're up to step 16. So we've got some sidewall details to add, the instrument panel to assemble, reduction gearbox, all coming into the fuselage's sides, some alterations to be made by the nose there to put the oil collection plate on, and it's saying to remove some vents and bits and pieces at the bottom here for the versions that contained in this box. So I've already painted the inside, the fuselage area, interior green, and we're just going to add a panel line wash using Tamiya panel line brown. I'll just get rid of the excess off there, and we're just going to highlight some of the details just to give it a little bit of interest in there. And then we're just going to remove the excess with a Q-tip. Like so. And repeat for the other side. Same method. Nothing more or nothing less than that, and we'll look at now getting these sidewall detail parts inserted into the fuselages. So we now have our fuselage together, all quite straightforward, but I did struggle a little bit with the tail, getting that all level, and as you can see now it is absolutely 90 degrees true. Seam clean up, done really well, wing roots are fine, but I did have a problem with this nose section, and what we've done there is we've masked off the seam, put some Tamiya putty in, and we'll let that dry before removing the masking tape. A little bit of seam clean up, we've got a little bit of work to do just around these fuselage seams, but nothing major, and everything's gone together really well. All that work in the cockpit, really you can't see much at all once it's in there, but all in all it's progressing quite well. The fit is okay. I wouldn't say it was brilliant, but manageable, and it's not really took any time to get to this stage. So we're just going to have to wait now until this filler is hardened, so that's going to be overnight, and then we can come back and we can work on this seam, and we'll have a look at how we do that. It's a bit more work on our Arma Hobbies 1/48 scale Hurricane Mark 1, and I've just left this bead of filler to harden properly before we sand that down. I've added the landing lights and wingtip navigation lights. The fit is not fantastic, it's not bad, easily overcome, and they're in place, but definitely worth adding them at this point of the build, so that any remedial work can be carried out prior to painting. Flipping the model over, we've added the intakes and the radiators to the model, and we're fastly approaching time for primer. And hello, welcome back. So you've just seen me coming out of the spray bay there, where we've just been finishing off putting our primer coat on our Hurricane, and we got this nose section looking quite nice, and we've added the oil collector ring and the bulges at the last minute. We've built up the wheels and they've been painted. So we'll use the supplied masks for those, and there's the prop blade and the spinners you'll have seen me spraying just as at the beginning of the speeded up section. The thing with MRP primer is it leaves a lovely flat and ready to paint surface. So we'll start considering getting some paint on the undersides. So I've built the wheels up 2 parts, just glued together each side, quite well detailed, don't look too bad. And I've painted the hubs silver. A nice touch included in the kit is a set of wheel masks. So we'll just take the centres out of these, just to cover the hub up. There's even manufacturer's logo on the side of these tyres, on the side walls. Just a little interesting fact for you that Dunlop supplied both the German and English Air Forces. And they're ready to be painted along with the prop, so we'll do that now. So for this we're going to use Tamiya LP65 rubber black. So we've just got our rubber black in the airbrush, nothing special. Paintbrush full of LP65, bit of thinners, nice even coverage from the airbrush. the job is done. Just get it well covered. And it's onto the prop blades. And there's the propeller completed. All that'll need now is the yellow tips masking off and those springs, so we'll just clean the airbrush out. So with the sky or duck egg blue undersurface is now dry, focus of attention is on getting the port wing painted black. So borrowing the Erdard 72nd scale instructions that I've just printed one page out, we can see that this wing is black on LEA or P2961, and this is what we're now going to achieve. So as you can see from the speeded up video, we've marched through our Arma Hobbies 1/48 scale Hurricane Mark 1, and we've got the painting done. So what you witnessed there in a couple of minutes took me the best part of 6 hours, and we're there with MRP throughout, and we're looking quite nice, and the decals have started going on. Now, kit decal wise, I was never going to use those, wanting to instead build one of the Italeri offerings from their superb release of 2838 1/48 scale Hurricane Mark 1 of the Aces, and that's got some really good decal options. Pity that the kit isn't up to today's standards in terms of fit. Now, these decals worked really well, being printed by Cartograph, and they're some of the best decals I've worked with, to be fair. They've snuggled into the detail on that wing absolutely flawlessly, with nothing more than microset and sol, and they've shown all the individual rivets. I don't know if the camera will pick that out. The only thing I would suggest is perhaps the codes are a little pale, but they're not far off the kit decals included in the Arma Hobbies kit. So I'm not going to teach you all how to apply decals. I'm sure by now you've got your own methods. But we'll just apply the wing roundel. So we'll just recover our decal from the warm water, and all I've got there is a ceramic dish and a very cheap Amazon coffee cup warmer. Keeps the water just right, and once the decal's moving freely, we've moistened the wing and the area it's going onto, and we're just going to slide this in place, and then we're just going to line it up. Like so. Just making sure we do get it symmetrical. So there's a line of rivets that runs one panel line up from the landing light. So I just dry this area with a cotton bud so we can just see those surface details, and it's just on the row of rivets along the aileron, and that should be it. Now, just a quick check, I'm just going to do a measurement from the edge of the marking to the nearest panel line, and just make sure that I have indeed got those right, which I think we have. And then coming up with our setting solution, we're just using Microsol, and we're just going to apply a nice wet brushful, and we're going to leave that be. And that's all that there is to it. So I shall carry on and get now the undersides decaled up, and we can move forward with our build and get this one over the finish line, and hopefully be a nice successful start to 2026. So with the decals on the model, it's time to move our build into the end game, and I'm now going to look at getting these canopies masked up and painted. Now, fortunately, Arma saved the modeller a few pounds, and they do include a set of canopy masks, and these have wheeled masks and the landing light masks as well, which I didn't realise when I was masking mine manually. So I've already done the front windscreen, and it's time to move on to the canopy. So we've just made sure that the masks are all in the right location, and we're going to start by giving the model a canopy a coat of MRP interior grey green, and this is to match the interior of the cockpit. We shall then put some black on top of that and a coat of primer, and that's to make the canopy look as though it is metal framework and not plastic, so you don't see any light. If you see the canopy from an angle, it'll block the light or make it light fast, so to speak. And then we'll finish that canopy off with a coat of the camouflage colours and a matte varnish. So let's crack on and get the interior grey-green on. So we're just going to start with some light coats, just building the colour up. So if you look at the canopy from the inside, it's the same colour. Just light coats there, letting the paint flash off as we go around. Doesn't take long for this MRP to dry for one bit, so we're just building the colour density up now. Bit heavier coats. Just moving to air now, just to blow and dry that paint off, and then we're going to put the final heavier layer of the interior green down. And we're just going to set that aside while I clean the airbrush out, and then we'll come back and we'll put the black coat on. So for the black, straight out of the bottle, LP65 Tamiya rubber black. And I'm just going to do the tail wheel first, just because that needs painting, and then we can mask that off and add the silver when I've finished. Onto our canopy, and we're just going to put a coat of black down. This is what gives the plastic its light fast appearance now, so that if you view it with any light showing through, it's not going to look transparent or in any way. And we'll just let that dry. Not winning with that. Coming in now with our grey primer, and this is just so the top coat of RAF dark green doesn't look any different from the surrounding areas in terms of tone, with it being over the black. So as with the top camouflage colours, MRP 110. So I've just removed the masking from our cockpit, and I think you'll agree there that we've got some nice looking canopy frames that are all nice and sharply defined. And the canopy just simply slots over the rear decking on the awaiting model, like so. The windscreen was painted at the same time, and that's been added using crystal clear or PVA glue, and that's a faultless fit. And we've added some seat belts, and they're Adard generic RAF seat belts just added to the cockpit. Airframe wise, we've pretty much finished. We've now got some slight scuffing added to the wing roots. The Flory Models dark dirt wash was added, and then finally the matte varnish coat. So all we've got left really to do now is add some of the antennas and glue everything together. So there's my Arma Hobby 1/48 scale Mark 1 Hurricane. Lovely kit, goes together without any real issues. We did have that problem down the seam of the nose. Could have been me just cleaning the plastic parts up, but nonetheless it was easy to deal with. We've removed the rudder aerial post and the wire attachment point from the main antenna mast behind the canopy. December 1940, could probably have been fitted with the VHF radio by then. We've not added IFF wires from the tailplane to the fuselage, as they just get in the way and get broken. Having a quick look around the airframe, you see it's gone together really quite well. Got that black wing and the sky undersurfaces, and there's our canopy now attached so it doesn't fall off. So that concludes my Arma Hobby 1/48 scale Hurricane Mark 1 video build. Very enjoyable kit, highly recommended, and we'll see you all in the next one. So until then, please look after yourselves, stay well and take care.